Hi, everyone. Welcome to a not so live workshop. My name is Sasha Marine Borges Ho. I'm a psychology associate and TAL coordinator over at Student Counseling Services of Iowa State University. And I'd like to welcome Ashley Friesweek and Jeff Nelson. Whoop, whoop! Make some noise. Ashley and Jeff had prepared such a great workshop for us on Wednesday at 1, but due to technical difficulties, we have needed to kind of shift gears and do things a little bit differently this time. So we are pre-recording this live workshop, not so live workshop, because there's really great content and I can't wait for them to present this for you today. So y'all feel free to take it away.
Absolutely. My name is Jeff Nelson. I'm a clinical therapist with Student Counseling Services at Iowa State, and I'm so excited today to present with Ashley material on ACT.
And my name is Ashley Friesweik. I am a postdoctoral fellow at Student Counseling Services at Iowa State University. Really have to echo what Jeff said. Very excited to be able to bring this to y'all after some technical difficulty. So we're very, very excited, and want to give a quick shout out to Sasha for navigating this and helping us figure all this stuff out in terms of tech. So thank you to her and her patience that we're finally able to kind of get this out to y'all. So before we kind of get going with our topic today, I definitely want to kind of make some space to talk about the amazing live workshops that we've had over the summer semester. Obviously with the coronavirus kind of changing how we relate to each other and all those kinds of things, and how we connect and how we maintain our safety and our distance. Student Counseling Services has worked very, very hard to be able to get information out to everybody and support our student body. And so, these live workshops are going to continue to be available on our YouTube page. But I just want to kind of review the great topics that we've had over the summer. These have been Wednesday at 1 p.m. We had a great workshop starting off in May with healthy habits during COVID. A chunk of awesome workshops in June with substance use, self-compassion, anxiety and COVID-19, being stuck together in a good way. And then in July, we had Life Hack, going home for breaks. And we are ending the summer semester with live workshops with this ACT workshop. We put more coming fall 2020 because, obviously things continue to change, continue to develop, and we will continue to work very hard to be able to kind of make sure that this information and different live workshops are available for students. And so please look out for these in the fall semester. There's probably going to be even more opportunity to have live workshops with the fall 2020 semester. So again, these are things that you can find at our YouTube channel. And before we kind of jump into the topic today, we definitely want to kind of make space to acknowledge what is going on in our world right now. I think put forth self-reflection, because I think oftentimes, at least for myself, I'm moving at a fast pace. Things are just happening, maybe not being as present as I normally would like to be, and what's going on has really forced me, and I'm sure others, to kind of slow down and to really reflect. And so, with the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of fear, strain on social support, strain on relationships. It's really kind of forced some of us to really reflect on how we navigate relationships, how we connect with others, how we maintain that sense of safety. And the same with the racial inequality in our country. With the recent events, there's been a lot of emotions that have come up for people, whether it's anger, helplessness, fear, grief, but it's really forced a lot of us to kind of self-reflect on how we listen, how we learn, how we use our voice as an ally for the minorities and people of color in this country. And today's presentation isn't going to be a solution for any of that, but I think we just hope that there's something that y'all are able to kind of take away from today's topic to help you better take care of yourself and better manage everything that's going on.
All right. With this workshop on ACT, referred to as ACT and not by the letters ACT, Participants will learn what ACT is, the value of mindfulness, the difference between struggle and pain, how to unhook from unhelpful, unwanted thoughts, feelings, and sensations, to be present and live in the service of our values. So ACT is moving from avoidance to willingness. The participants at the end and completion of the workshop will be provided some self-help resources that are excellent to continue their ACT journey. We have some book recommendations, some videos. We have some material on using ACT to help to manage during these difficult times and in addition, we also have an app that has material as well to continue to learn and practice what we're going to talk about today. So what is ACT? ACT is a research-based intervention that increases psychological flexibility with a mindfulness approach and behavior change strategies. Acceptance and commitment therapy. ACT is a relatively new form of therapy, which helps you relate differently to your anxious feelings, depressed moods, worrying mind, self-defeating behaviors, or anything else that causes you problems. The aim of ACT is to limit the way these run your life. And so ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. Acceptance refers to bringing an open and willing attitude toward all internal experiences, thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, and memories, even those which are uncomfortable. It does not mean resigning yourself to your circumstances or giving in to your pain, where your pain usually leads you. The commitment means actively working on what you care about, even when pain is present. So why make space for these uncomfortable thoughts, feelings, painful urges, physical sensations? Well, there's a growing body of research which suggests that attempts to suppress, get rid of, or control internal experiences can make them worse and lead to the kinds of problems people seek therapy for. When we stop struggling with these experiences, they paradoxically have less power. ACT clinically is used to treat a variety of concerns, anxiety, psychosis, depression, substance abuse, and many other clinical issues. ACT has had an impact on work productivity, sports performance, and academic achievement. In the spirit of ACT and learning to be an observer of our thoughts and feelings and sensations and make space, mindfulness is a very powerful tool in allowing us to do that. So what I'd like to invite our participants today or in the recording to join me in a mindfulness exercise. And so before we begin, I'm going to invite you to assume a nice, relaxed posture and take a nice, relaxing inhale, followed by a comfortable exhale. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, please do so, or you can simply pick a spot in the room in which to soften your gaze. Please take a few moments to mentally scan your body from head to toe. Notice if there are any areas of tension, such as your jaw or shoulders. If you notice any tension, see if you can let some of that tension go. If not, that's okay. Just notice what's there. And take a few moments to connect with your sense of touch. Notice what physical sensations are happening in your hands. See if you can feel where your hands make contact with each other or with your legs, the armrest of your chair. See if you feel your feet on the ground. Next, take a few moments to notice what you can hear. There may be several sounds or just one, or it may be silent. Just notice whatever is there. When you're ready, move your attention to your breathing. Watch the breath come in and go out on its own without you having to control it. See if you can feel your breath in your nose or your belly. As you breathe, you will notice that thoughts may come into your mind. They may be pleasant thoughts or unpleasant thoughts or neutral thoughts. This is what the human mind does. It is a thinking machine. Just see if you notice the thoughts without getting caught up in them, and then return your attention to your breathing. Each time a thought pops up, notice it, and then return your attention to your breath. This will happen over and over and over again. That's okay. It means you're human. With practice, you can get better at noticing your thoughts rather than getting carried away by them. As you continue breathing, you will notice that certain feelings or emotions will also show up. Some of these may be pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings, or neutral feelings. See if you can notice these feelings the same way you notice your thoughts. There's no need to try and change what's there. Just try to notice what you feel. Notice what sensations come along with the emotion. There may be heaviness, lightness, warmth, coolness, tingling, or tension. Whatever you feel and wherever it happens, just notice what's going on. See if you can let it be. And now, take a few moments to consider why you want to learn more about this material. What brought you to this opportunity, this live workshop to learn more about ACT? What are your motivations for learning ACT? Why have you chosen to spend time doing this workshop activity? What personal values brought you to this experience? See if you can articulate your motivations to yourself and perhaps write them down, type them into a computer or make a mental note. Recognize and appreciate the fact that you made a choice to take action for change. And as the exercise comes to a close, see if you can bring an image of what kind of person you want to be when you handling your pain effectively. Consider how you'll be acting toward other people, how you'll be acting towards yourself. Please keep these values in mind throughout our time together. Values help motivate people for committed, lasting behavioral change. And when you're ready, feel free to open your eyes.
So thank you, Jeff, for walking us through that awesome mindfulness activity. Now we're going to kind of transition into really diving into ACT. And for those that don't know, ACT is very metaphor-based. We have a ton of metaphors for a ton of different things, but one of the foundational metaphors to ACT is the tug-of-war monster metaphor. And this one demonstrates how we manage unwanted feelings, unwanted thoughts, sensations, and how we easily kind of get caught up in this struggle to minimize pain, minimize discomfort, only to get pulled away from what's important to us. So suppose you're playing tug of war with a monster, and this monster is a metaphor for the fact that problems exist in our lives, and it may represent depression, shame, anxiety, physical pain, just about anything. And between you and the monster is a huge bottomless pit. And it may often feel like your problems are really, really overwhelming. And when we're so overwhelmed, it can feel like the monster's just going to pull us straight into the pit. You might also may think that if you could pull on the rope just the right way, you could pull the monster into the pit, and you wouldn't have any problems anymore. Well, as hard as you try, it just seems impossible to pull a monster in. Try wrapping the rope around your hands, wrapping the rope around your waist, digging your feet into the ground as hard as you can, just to pull the monster in. But nothing seems to work. Why doesn't it work? Well, possibly because there is no such thing as a life that doesn't have problems. And in the meantime, off in another direction are all the things that are important to you, which, in ACT, we refer to those as your values. And while you're in this tug of war and this struggle with this monster, you feel a huge desire to move towards what's important to you. But if you do, you worry that the monster will come after you. And while the pit is deep, it's not wide enough to where the monster can't jump over it and, continue to kind of bother you. So as long as you feel the need to kind of tug on the rope, and you can't move towards the things that matter to you. So what do? You drop the rope, right? I think oftentimes we forget that we have the choice to drop the rope. Now, if you let go of the rope, the monster can now wander around freely. The problems that you face, the worry, the unhelpful thoughts, the unhelpful sensations, they can feel scary. But can they actually harm you? Not too much, right? Dropping the rope allows you to make space for the worry, to make space for the unhelpful thoughts, the unhelpful feelings, the unhelpful sensations. And in doing so, you're letting all those things that kind of bother you just freely kind of show up and wander while you move toward what's important to you. And, I think this picture on the slide does a great job of representing this, right? The monster's still there, the worries are still there, but we are now in a place where we're able to kind of just go about our lives and focus on what's most important to us and move towards our values to ultimately live a meaningful life. And this is really about putting your focus on yourself and putting your focus on what's important to you, instead of being caught up, hooked, or fused with anxiety, worry, depression, shame, whatever it may be. And and recognizing that you have choice to drop the rope allows you to live a meaningful, value-driven life.
Thanks, Ashley, for that wonderful metaphor. That's really a great way to organize and understand ACT, and talks about the different facets of ACT. So one of those I want to talk about is how we get caught up in grabbing the rope, as Ashley said, and trying to pull the monster in, those thoughts, feelings, sensations, and how they have influence over our behavior. So when we look at our thoughts from our thoughts rather than at our thoughts, we can become absorbed, wrapped up, entangled, hooked with thoughts, feelings. When we do that, we are removed from the outside world. Our thoughts become our reality. We're removed from what we are doing and from the people around us, and it can be hard to pay attention to anything outside of our thoughts. And these thoughts can hook us. And I think it's helpful to look at some different categories of different ways that our thoughts and feelings can have an influence over the behavior towards in the service of our values, and how they can get in the way of that. Those, as Ashley was so talking about in the metaphor of being off to the side where we can see them, but we're not able to engage with those things that we care about and having a meaningful and vital and rich life. And so these areas to think about, different types of thoughts that can hook us are rules, which example is if I can't do it perfectly, there's no point in trying. Reason making that we can get into with thoughts of I'm too tired, busy, anxious, depressed. Judgments, I'm not good at this. The not good enoughs that we bring with us from our experiences, the past, old hurts, failures, mistakes, missed opportunities, the future, worry about catastrophic possibilities, things that might happen. And then also around the self, when we label ourselves as perhaps an anxious, depressed person, these types of thoughts that hook us, again, can influence our behavior, get in the and make it difficult to not let go of the rope. And so it's important to recognize and maybe think about, and I would encourage you to, what type of thoughts do you feel fused with, hooked to, in your experiences? And if not fused, what would you want to be doing?
So when these unwanted thoughts, feelings, sensations kind of come up, we often kind of get to a point of choice making, right? And that means that we typically engage in away moves or toward moves. So we're going to kind of jump into that to kind of clarify what that means. So when faced with pain, we often engage in behavior to reduce, escape, or minimize that discomfort. And when we do those kinds of things, that's what we call away moves. Away moves minimize pain, discomfort, and they pull us away from our values. And so that's why they're called away moves. They're pulling us away from what's important to us. And away moves are what we kind of refer to as kind of like a short-term temporary solution, right? We're moving away from values, maybe behaving not in the way in which we want to be behaving, maybe doing things that don't improve our life and can ultimately make it worse. And so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of jump into a couple different I guess, concepts or kind of examples of what away moves can look like. And the first one is distraction. So a distraction away move is typically something that we do to zone out or take our mind off of whatever's kind of distressing us. Let's say, for example, we're feeling really anxious about a big assignment for class. If we're engaging in like an away move, maybe we're away move of distraction, maybe we start to play a video game or watch TV or something like that, just to kind of, again, zone out, take our mind off of that anxiety about that big assignment. The second option is opting out. So opting out means that there are certain places, activities, or events that we choose to withdraw from or miss out on to avoid feeling bad, or to avoid feeling some pain, anxiety, whatever it may be. I think an example of that is, let's say, I have a lot of anxiety about meeting new people. And so let's say, I'm invited to go out somewhere and meet new people, and I'm feeling a lot of anxiety, and I don't feel like I can handle this anxiety. So to opt out, what I do is I choose not to go out, right? Not to go out with friends, because what that does is that actually minimizes my anxiety. However, it minimizes my anxiety for a short period of time, because the next time that situation comes up, that anxiety is going to come back again. So that's what we're kind of referring to as kind of like that short-term kind of temporary solution. I think the third kind of example of an away move is different thinking strategies. So there are different ways of thinking when pain or unwanted thoughts or feelings kind of show up. And there's a lot of different thinking strategies that we have. It could be worry that we're experiencing. Maybe we're dwelling on the past, having if only thoughts or why thoughts. At times we can even kind of place blame, whether it's placing blame on ourselves, placing blame on somebody else, or placing blame on a circumstance. Another thinking strategy is analyzing or even kind of like fantasizing about something. So another example that I think would be good to kind of further kind of understand this concept is, let's say you're feeling some anxiety kind of following an interaction, right? Like let's say you met somebody new, and oftentimes, at least for myself, all that kind of like analyzing comes up when I'm trying to go to bed at night, right? That's when everything kind of floods into my mind, and I start analyzing. I'm like, okay, like should have said this differently, or maybe you should do this differently next time, and whatever that may be, or that conversation didn't go well, you should probably say this next time, or whatever. And so that's a kind of a common example of like a thinking strategy, but specifically kind of analyzing a situation. The last kind of example of an away move is substances. So substances are going to be things that we've used or tried to feel better. And this can be just about anything. This could be food, drinks, cigarettes, recreational drugs, prescription drugs, pretty much anything. And I encourage you, as we're kind of talking about these things, to be thinking like, what are some away moves that I find myself doing? Maybe they fit into one of those 4 categories. Maybe it's something completely different. But the awareness of that away move is really, 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 really important. And our ability to unhook and make choices to unhook from those thoughts are what we kind of refer to as like our toward moves. So moving toward our values. And toward moves are when we recognize that anxiety and pain are going to happen, a normal part of life, and we're not trying to avoid or run away from those experiences. What we're able to do is make space for them and acknowledge their existence. So toward moves are more of a long-term solution. That's when we're acting in line with values, we're doing things that make life better, we're living a richer, more fulfilling life. And some examples that I was kind of thinking of is that, let's say, we value education, right? And so next time we feel anxious about a big assignment, instead of choosing to maybe distract ourselves with a TV show or a movie or a video game, what we do is we choose to instead move toward our value of education and away from it. So that would mean kind of maybe focusing our attention on that big assignment instead of trying to kind of minimize that pain and anxiety of not focusing on that assignment whatsoever. Another example is, maybe we value connection, or we value friendship. So the next time we're faced with a new opportunity to meet new people or to go to an event, maybe we're choosing to move toward that value of connection and friendship instead of kind of going for the short-term solution of opting out and staying home. Regardless, I think it's very important that, we're being mindful of, is this action moving me away or toward my values? And that's going to be a really, really important question that we kind of manage and reflect on. And next, we're going to kind of transition to watching a video. And this video does a great job of really kind of describing everything that we've been talking about, whether it's values or away moves, toward moves, those kinds of things. It does a great job of describing kind of the cognitive fusion that Jeff was kind of speaking to, about how we get hooked, as well as the impact of, again, away and toward moves have on our values and our overall well-being. Our hope is that our technology works today. So we'll kind of jump into that video.
If there is any problem at all with the audio being audible on the recording, we're going to make sure that all links to any attached media will be available as well. So it could very well be that this audio will not pick up. I really hope it does. But not to worry, if you are watching this right now as a pre-recording and you realize that the video portion does not play audio, just take a look in the description down below. Now's a good time to do that. Oh, gonna go back here. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Sasha, for naming that audio might not work. I think even without audio working, like the animation does a great job of kind of explaining those concepts and giving you an idea of what it may feel like or look like to get hooked and kind of taken to an overwhelming place, or what it may look like or feel like to kind of engage in away moves versus toward moves. So yeah, there will be a link for you to kind of be able to watch this video on your own to kind of be able to get the full experience. But yeah, thanks for naming that, Sasha.
So to unhook is kind of the antithesis of cognitive fusion is cognitive defusion. And so cognitive diffusion is the idea of allowing thoughts to have less influence over our behavior. It's cognitive diffusion is looking at our thoughts as thoughts and not from our thoughts. It's being the observer, that observer self. Cognitive diffusion involves creating space between ourselves and our thoughts and feelings so that they have less of a hold over us. This involves distancing, disconnecting, or seeing thoughts or feelings for what they are, a stream of words, passing sensations, not what they say they are, dangers or facts. So we want to, with diffusion, we want to stop, step back, observe the thoughts and feelings, what's happening. And mindfulness, as the video spoke to, helps to unhook from powerful emotions, thoughts, so you can refocus on what is important, those values, things you care about, and live in the present moment. And so one way to help to kind of recognize that, to put in front of your thoughts, is to say to yourself, I'm having the thought of, can help to recognize and see thoughts as thoughts and not from your thoughts. And I thought, thanks, Ashley, for giving several examples of a social situation as well as another situation where students might find themselves in, for example, and with an assignment. So I'd like to, if I can, just share an example of a situation a student might be in where and how that influences behavior from when someone is fused, again, holding the rope, versus someone who is dropping the rope and moving in the direction of their values. So a student, it's a Wednesday night, 9 o'clock, sitting at a computer with a blank document trying to start a paper. The student has the thought of, I hate writing, I'm really tired and nervous, and I really need a break. I'll try again when I'm not so anxious. So being fused with those types of thoughts and the feelings associated with that, the action would be to check email, maybe surf the internet, Facebook, watch Netflix. The cost, again, kind of looking at away moves, would be, this happens a lot. I had a nagging feeling that I was getting behind. The next day I had to pull an all-nighter to meet my deadline, and then I was exhausted and more behind for my class. This is not the student I want to be. An alternative action in being able to diffuse and see those thoughts as thoughts and moving in the direction of your value. Again, a towards move would be, I would have kept working even though I was anxious and tired. I would have followed through on the plan I had made to get started. So there's an example of that, and Ashley's going to talk more about strategies to help us to diffuse from difficult thoughts, feelings, sensations.
Yeah, so to kind of continue to kind of add on to what Jeff was kind of speaking to. So when we have these, unwanted or unhelpful thoughts or feelings, sensations, we have what we call the 3 C's for reacting differently to unhelpful thoughts, feelings, and sensations. The first one is catch it. So for any kind of change, whatever it may be, awareness is a huge step in that, and that is kind of similar to here. So catching that you're having that thought. Notice I'm having thoughts about, or I'm having thoughts about whatever it may be, whatever's kind of bringing that anxiety about, or kind of what Jeff was sharing earlier is I'm having thoughts of. So really naming your experience, I think, is kind of how I want to describe this. So catching it. The second C is check it. So check it. Say we're checking the thought, right? Some things or thoughts to kind of think about is this thought helpful? What would happen if I got hooked to this thought? Does this thought make me feel better? Does it help me accomplish what I want to accomplish? Does this thought help me be who I want to be? Is this thought in service of my values? And I encourage you to kind of take a little bit of time, a few seconds, just to kind of think about these questions and reflect on these questions. But is it helpful? Does it help me live in service of my values? And if the answer to any of those questions is no, no, it's not helpful. No, it doesn't make me feel better. No, it's not helping me live in service of my values. Then we need to change it. And changing it means that maybe we're changing how we react to our thought. Maybe we're not getting hooked to it. Maybe we're simply noticing the thought, naming our experience. Maybe we're changing our attention, so noticing the other, maybe more helpful thoughts, or maybe we're getting hooked to more helpful thoughts. And we'll kind of dive into that a little bit more in this next slide. So, kind of what this slide is kind of demonstrating is that if we think about, we see all these planes, right? And when we think about these planes as different thoughts that just kind of come up for us, we have a lot of thoughts that kind of come up for us throughout a day. And so imagine that you're just kind of standing on kind of a hilltop, and each thought is represented by a different plane that's kind of flying ahead. And the goal of diffusion, kind of what Jeff was speaking to, is to make space for the pain by putting some distance between ourselves and those unwanted thoughts. So really observing what's going on, if we're sticking to our plane metaphor, watching these planes go by, but not getting attached to these planes. And there are, as we all know, there are unhelpful planes, so unhelpful thoughts that come up for us. There are maybe more neutral thoughts, and there are helpful thoughts. And some examples of what those could be, they could literally be anything, but just some examples that I came up with is maybe some unhelpful thoughts that are kind of flying above us are thoughts of, I can't do this. Thoughts of, I'm not good enough. I'm useless. I'm weak. And, obviously, for a lot of us, it's very easy to jump on that plane and to let that unhelpful thought kind of take us to a place that, we don't really want to be, or take us to a place of feeling overwhelmed. Neutral thoughts, again, can be just about anything. Neutral thoughts are really about the observation piece to this. So, for example, let's say I'm looking at a lemon. So neutral thoughts are very maybe descriptive. So maybe I'm describing this lemon of like, oh, it's round, it's yellow, it's cool, maybe it feels bumpy. And then we have our helpful thoughts kind of flying above us. Helpful thoughts, some examples could be, today's going to be a good day. Or, I can do this. I'm a strong person. I'm worth it. And so, we really encourage you, when you're thinking about ACT and you're thinking about cognitive diffusion, is to allow these thoughts to come up, allow yourself to feel grounded on this kind of hillside where these planes just kind of fly by. Allow those thoughts to kind of come up, and kind of do your best. And we'll talk about how to make sure that you're not getting attached to these thoughts, right? You're just making space for them, allowing them to be what they are. So that would be kind of similar to what we were talking about earlier, instead of in terms of change it, of, avoid jumping on unhelpful planes, right? Just notice the planes, but feel grounded. Notice those helpful planes. Maybe kind of spend some time focusing on those more helpful planes with more of a positive message to remind us of our strength. And if I were you, I'd really be sitting there thinking, how the heck do I do this, right? Easier said than done. But one of the greatest ways to be able to do this, to start that journey of cognitive diffusion, is through an exercise that we call Leaves on a Stream. And we're not going to go into that exercise today. However, we will at the end kind of have resources on how you can kind of get connected to that exercise. But that's a great exercise that, we encourage you to take time to look into, because that's an exercise that allows you to kind of make space for those unwanted, unhelpful thoughts, feelings, and sensations, while still kind of remaining grounded.
All right. So as acceptance, so as Ashley spoke to, being on that hillside, watching the planes, we have thoughts, lots of thoughts. Some research says 75,000, thoughts a day. And since we can't always control our thoughts, and our thoughts can be negative, and so the idea is to acceptance is making space for negative thoughts and feelings. That's an alternative to getting on the plane. Acceptance means bringing an open and willing attitude toward all internal experiences. Again, those thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, and memories, even those which are uncomfortable. This doesn't mean we like them or want them around, but we are willing for them to be there. It does not mean resigning yourself to your circumstances or giving in to where the pain usually leads you. When we spend less time trying to control our negative thoughts and feelings, we have more freedom to make choices that improve our lives. All of us, I think, can conceptualize acceptance, but it's hard to put into practice. That's where ACT utilizes experiential exercises for learning and application. And I echo Ashley's recommendation at the end of this to check out the resources. And one of those exercises, the experiential kind of the how, would be the leaves of stream. So check that out. I highly recommend that. And next, we're going to watch a video. It's an excellent metaphor. It's titled "The Unwelcome Party Guest." As Ashley spoke to the video earlier, and Sasha as well, that there will be a link below. So if you're unable to hear the sound, where you can connect and be able to hear the audio as well. So we'll go ahead and play the video, "The Unwelcome Party Guest."
Yeah, so that's like if you weren't able to hear the audio, that is one of my favorite videos when it comes to ACT because um, that video really demonstrates how when we're in that struggle, kind of what we're talking about with the tug-of-war monster, um, we're trying to control or suppress, this pain or whatever it may be, we get lost in enjoying our lives. And so in that video, obviously, he's in the struggle with trying to keep this bad neighbor. I don't know how better to describe it, but this unwanted neighbor from their party, and he gets so caught up in just standing next to the door, making sure he doesn't come into the party. And in the midst of, he's missing out on this whole party. And so at the end, you kind of see how when you make space for this unwanted party guest, how you begin to learn that, hey, I can actually enjoy my party and have this unwanted party guest kind of at my party as well. So one of my most favorite videos. So we're going to kind of transition to resources, right? And I think resources for ACT are a way to kind of continue maybe your journey of learning about ACT, and practicing cognitive diffusion and all those different things. So I think to kind of start with it, there are several books, self-help books that are really great when it comes to ACT. There's the Happiness Trap or the Illustrated Happiness Trap. I had my book around here somewhere and I lost it. Otherwise, I would show you. But it's a really great book, and it's kind of developed by Russ Harris. And so, if you haven't kind of gotten it, Russ Harris is a very prominent name in ACT. And the second book is Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life. Another great self-help book to kind of help with your journey in ACT. Videos, YouTube is going to be your greatest resource when it comes to videos and different kind of metaphors, kind of what we showed today. When it comes to ACT, there are a long list of them. Obviously the two that we showed today, but there's also a newer one called Face COVID that talks about how to respond effectively to the coronavirus through an ACT perspective. Radio Doom and Gloom, which is also a newer one. The 3 Happiness Myths, which is a huge kind of foundational component to ACT. So those are going to be great videos. There's also like the struggle switch, values versus goals. And if you're looking for those videos kind of all in one place, the best way to kind of find those is to go onto YouTube and type in Russ Harris, and you'll find his kind of YouTube page with all these different videos, all these different resources. And what's great is he's constantly updating them, which is really nice, as there's always kind of newer ones to kind of watch. The app that kind of Jeff spoke to in the beginning is called ACT Coach. A really, really great app. Different mindfulness activities, ways to kind of track progress, or different cognitive diffusion strategies, and so all kinds of things in that app. So I encourage you, and it's free, if I'm right. Jeff, it's a free app, right?
Yes, it is. It's a
Okay.
free app.
Yes, and who doesn't like free stuff? So if you can, definitely try and download that, because that's a great app to have, a great resource to have. Also, a couple people when it comes to ACT to kind of be on the lookout for. Stephen Hayes, the founder of ACT, so he's always going to be a great resource. And then coming back to Russ Harris, obviously a great resource when it comes to ACT, and little videos on ACT and all that kind of stuff. And under his name is actually like the clickable link to his YouTube channel, so that's going to be a great resource for people to kind of look into. And the Leads on the Stream that we were kind of referring to earlier is also on YouTube. So go on YouTube and look up Leads on a Stream, and that's going to be a great resource to kind of have as well. And then the last one I think is important to go over is our services as student counseling services. We are always a resource for students at Iowa State University. This kind of outlines kind of what resources we have right now in the summer. So to kind of engage in that physical distancing and maintain that sense of safety, we are not offering face-to-face sessions at this time. Right now we have brief phone consultations for those who are not located in Iowa. We also have telehealth sessions, which is more like video-based conferencing, and that is for people who are located in Iowa, and if it feels like it's an appropriate fit for that student to have that service. We also have crisis services that can be reached via phone. Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. We have our walk-in appointments Monday through Thursday, 8 to 3. The best way to kind of get into contact with us kind of maintaining that physical distancing is going to be kind of calling our office. And so the phone number is there for you to kind of utilize. And, the last resource is our YouTube page, which with the pandemic, this is also a great way to kind of stay connected to us. I think our staff has done an amazing, amazing job of putting out different resources for students over the last few months, whether it's live workshops or, different kind of just information bits here and there. And so our YouTube channel is going to be a great way to kind of stay in contact with us. The last thing that I want to say, I talk a lot, I apologize, but the last thing I want to say is that we are hoping to have an ACT group in the fall. We are hoping, Jeff and I are huge advocates of the group, and to continue to be able to do that. And it's a great group that allows you to kind of dive into ACT a little bit more and really kind of get into that experiential aspect and how it relates to you as a student and the challenges or successes that you have. So please look out for that as well.
Absolutely. And as well, and maybe Sasha could speak to this, we have an additional resource for students coming this fall as well. And there's some elements of ACT in that material. So excited.
Are you thinking of Tao?
About that, Sasha?
Thinking of Tao, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm gonna see if I can stop sharing the screen, which apparently it's not giving me a whole lot of options for that at the moment. Not sure why. Here, I'm just gonna. There we go. Okay. I think I stopped. No.
Are we off recording now?
We're still recording.
Okay.
So I will very briefly talk just about Tao. So another one of our resources, which is fairly new to our system, is Tao, which is therapy assisted online. It consists of essentially a self-help and mindfulness library that you can either access individually as self-help. You're accessing that basically confidentially, doing it at your own pace, going through the modules as you like, and kind of picking and choosing what you'd like to participate in and learn from. It consists primarily of like 15-minute videos and activities, things like that. We also are able to offer a therapist assisted version of that, so that if you feel like you need to get some additional support in keeping yourself motivated to go through a set of modules, you've never done anything like counseling before, you've never done anything like self-help before, it can be really helpful to every week check in with your therapist, who will help walk you through exercises, check in, see how things are going, and help you kind of figure out any obstacles that come forward. So that's another service that we're rolling out. It's already available, so you can actually click on the Tao link on our website if you wanted to access that. I want to thank Ashley and Jeff so much for this not only this workshop, but also for your immense patience and flexibility as we've been trying to figure out how we're going to work around the technological problems that I couldn't solve despite my efforts. Thank you so much for being able and willing to record today. I so appreciate it. This is a Friday, y'all. It is a Friday. It is in the afternoon. Thank you so much. Much appreciated that you're here today for this. To our lovely audience, please check the description and all the links below. There will be links to all of the videos that you saw today, as well as some additional resources. There are also some crisis resources that we always make available down there as well. So in each of our live workshops, just take a look there as well, and you'll see that there's some resources if you're needing some immediate support, and it's after business hours. Our number, 515-294-5056. Please feel free to reach out as you're needing. We are here from home, but we are here, and we continue to be here even throughout remote and hybrid instruction this fall. Thanks for being here. Thank you to you both. We'll wrap up here. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sasha.
Thank you, Sasha.
Bye.